Hi everybody, I am Husky Light. I hope you're all really well. Right, I'm going to get into this as much as I can. I promise that I do this. I want to do sort of a quick overview of what is happening and why we're waking up before I go into this hero's journey, which is just, it sort of encapsulates awakening to a certain extent, twin flames to a certain extent. It encapsulates everything, but that's quite a bit to get into. So I'm going to get into this first. Now, let me say a couple of things first before I start. This is what I have been awakened to. This is my interpretation of what's going on in the world today, what's happening now and why it's happening. So not all of you may agree with it. Some of you may have different views. I will probably have views that you have got that I'm not going to cover because it's just a huge, vast, and it all needs to be segmented down. And this is what I'm going to start to try and do in my own little way. For those of you who are years ahead on the awakening process or whatever, then I'm not trying to teach you to suck eggs. You already know what I'm talking about. You might get a bit bored with it. For those of you who don't know what I'm talking about, stick questions below. I'll try and answer everything that I can do. And those of you who don't believe in any of this stuff, don't watch it. As simple as. It's just all what I have come to the conclusion of what's happening from where I've been guided to go, from the visions and the messages that I got through as I was awakening as well. And it takes a long time for those of you on the awakening process. It takes a long time to figure it out. Maybe I'm a little bit thick. Maybe it took me a little bit longer than everybody else going on it, but I don't think so. I think it's that complex in places and that subtle in places as well. And you're trying to figure out messages from your angels, and you're seeing numbers and this, that and the other, having visions, seeing things that you don't usually see or hear. It of course it gets, dreams, it gets very confusing, and it takes time in between sometimes to figure out something that you saw or heard or was told. No matter how much research you do or anything, it's a case of, in divine timing, you will be told what it means when you're ready to hear what it means. So sometimes that, it can take a few days or it can take a few months, depending. But depending on how quick you awaken as well, if you woke up as quickly as I did, it was just like a whoosh. Over a matter of just a few months, it was very, very, very intense. And we're always awakening, we're always going down this road. But when it happens so suddenly and intensely, it's so confusing, it's so shocking. You really do think you're going crazy, and you're not. That it takes a while. It takes a while, and you get such a flood of information through as well, pretty much in such a short space of time. It takes your mind a while to decode it, to work it out. So let's get started on this. Now I've said all that. I've got a load of notes in front of me, so forgive me if I'm not always looking at the camera, because I'll be looking at my notes. I'll try and get through it. So we are moving from one age into another age. We are moving from the age of Pisces into the age of Aquarius. In fact, we've already moved into the age of Aquarius, which was approximately the end of the Mayan calendar, which was the 21st of December, the 21st of the 12th. 2012. So what does that actually mean? We're changing an epoch, we're changing an age. None of us, and not our parents, our grandparents or anything, have ever been alive at a time like this, when we have changed over to a different age. And we've gone through the dark ages, the prehistoric ages, the Iron Age, the Silver Age, and now we're in the Golden Age. We've just come out the Silver Age, which was Pisces. Now we're in the Golden Age. Now, when I first heard this as I was waking up, I was like, yeah, whatever, we're changing age, big deal. But have we ever sat down and actually thought, what does that actually mean to change from one age to another age, because none of us, as I say, have never been alive for this to happen before, but we are. We're right on the cross of it, changing over. I wanted to change, so it's like changing the guards at Buckingham Palace, but here it is. So what happens is the vibration that we have grown up in, were born in, have lived in, that vibration, that certain vibration of that age, the age of Pisces, is now changing to a different vibration, a different frequency. And what that means is we're going to a higher frequency. If you haven't got the diagram of it, I'll have to get one. If you look at a diagram of the body with all the star signs of the zodiac on it, Pisces is the feet. They're right at the bottom. No disregard to Pisces, but you rule the feet. You rule there. We are moving up now, and now we're into Aquarius. So we're moving up in vibration as we go into this new age. And at the moment, things are so confusing, simply because we're getting different information at the moment from two different sources. We've got all the information, all the media, the way things have always been, the way we've always thought, the way we were taught at school, everything. We're all still getting all of that information. And then we've got the new vibration, the new energy that's coming in it, which is a truth vibration, a truth energy that's coming in. And we've got this coming in now at the same time. So at the moment, the old paradigm, the old vibration hasn't gone yet, and now we've got all this new information coming in as well, which is the truth of the way things really are in our world. The age of Pisces, the last age that we have just come out of, it was one of suppression, control, lies. We were being held down, and we're still being held down. The new age that we're moving into, we've moved into, is truth, unconditional love, peace, above all else, an expansion of awareness, an expansion of spiritual growth to a degree that we never thought possible, that we were never aware of before, because our third eye's opening, etc., our chakras are opening up. So before we were held down and controlled, and we were in what people call a prison planet. We have a grid that goes around our earth, which keeps negative forces in, and it keeps us down, and it keeps us suppressed. For those of us that are waking up, we're starting to see that. We're starting to understand that. Our guides and angels, our alliances in different planets out there, because it's not just guides and angels. You know, we have a light force and a dark force. It is a bit Star Wars, if you want to think of it like that. They're trying to help us. Excuse me, they're trying to help us as well. So they're sending all these messages through, and it's really confusing for us until we can start to decode it and sort of look at it. So another example of this is, we have always listened to the same radio show. We've always listened to the same songs on that radio, and everybody else in the world has, and that's what we used to, and that's what we've done. Those of us awakening, we've suddenly found that there's a new radio station that we can tune into, and we've started tuning into this new radio station. Now, this new radio station it's completely different, it's radical, it's exciting, it's very truthful. Plays completely different songs than the other radio station, and yet we can still hear the other radio station if we tune into it. Because we're right in the middle now, some people are listening to the old radio station, others of us are listening to the new radio station, which is happening. And this, the energy, the vibrations from tuning into the new station, is changing the way we think. It's changing our bodies to such a degree, it's even changing our DNA. We're being rewired as we go through this. It's changing our whole being, it's changing our experience of things, it's changing the way we look at life. So it's just completely radical. Now, those of them listening to the old radio station still think we're all nuts. Think that whatever's going on, they don't understand it because they're not going through it themselves, and they won't understand it until they start to awaken. They'll just think it's all nuts and crazy. But eventually, when I've said to you, we are not alone. We have so much support and help from the universe, guiding us, helping us, supporting us through these changes that we go through. And although, and there is a lot of us, there's a lot of us awake, but there's more people still asleep at the moment. But it's all changing as one by one they will start to wake up. And at the point where we think, oh, we're all on our own, nobody around us knows what we're going through, nobody else is awake, they will do. They will do. They might have to go kicking and screaming like I did, because I did, because I really didn't understand. But they will eventually. This is a little bit, you know, of the hero's journey. You get to a point where the frequencies and the energies that are coming down from the planet to us will get to you eventually, whether, you know, if you're not awake. And they will put you in a position where you have to start waking up. And this is it. Because you have to move along with the times. You have to move into the new times that are happening. But so far on our old radio station, on our old computer program, whatever it was, however you want to call it, we were being suppressed and controlled. Now, because we're right in the middle and we're seeing like both worlds going on, we got the new information, we've still got the old information. To the outside world, it looks like the control side of things and the suppression and everything is increasing. It looks like it's getting out of control. But before I get into that side of things, I just want to get into this. I've got a diagram. I'm not going to try and add it into the video. I'm just going to hold it up. So hopefully, right. Let me put it in this way. Okay, this is the precession of the equinox, as I said before. Let me straighten this out. You can see starting at the top, because top is Aries, which is air, which is always the head. We go round in a complete circle, and we go round clockwise. So we've been through Aries, we've been through Pisces. Now, as I said, each segment, which is split up a bit, everything's in 12s. You'll come to learn that. Everything's in 12s. It's split up a bit like a clock. It's split up into segments. So approximately 2,160 years is an age. Okay, so if you look at the 1 o'clock position on there, it's Pisces. We move it over a little bit, and at the bottom we've got Libra and Virgo and Scorpio. So we've got Pisces there, which ended, like I said, on the 21st of December 2012, and then we move into Aquarius, which is the golden age. Now, time isn't linear at all. It does not go in a straight line. Time is cylindrical, which is something else you'll start to understand as time goes along through your awakening. And to look at the age of Aquarius and the golden age, or the golden age, and what we're going into now, we sort of have to look at the past in order to do that. So what we do, or what astrologers and scientists and the government, because they know, they've gone back one whole cycle. They've gone back 25,000 years or somewhere in between to see what's going on, because history repeats itself. All roads lead to Rome, and this is what's happening now. So we come into this new age. Now, if we go back 25,000 years, you've got things like Egyptian times, fall of Atlantis. Christ was around, I think, back then. And again, we don't know the exact dates and times of things, because history has been messed around with. We've just come through an age where they did suppress and keep us down. They also lied to us, and they also changed history. in certain aspects, because at the end of the day, the elite, the darker side of things, knew that this new age was coming in, and they've been trying everything in a last-ditch attempt to stop it coming in. They've been in control for 2,160 years, and they want to stay in control. They don't want things to change, but things are going to change, unfortunately, for them. Good for us, unfortunate for them, and they don't want it to. So they've been trying a lot of things to try and stop us, to try and scare us, to try and create confusion, to try and create the illusion that we are going into a really, really bad time, that it's the end of the world, that it's this, that it's that, and it's really bad, and it's not. So anyway, so we come in and we go back a cycle. Christ, this is why you'll get a lot in churches, in the Bible, in just about all religious beliefs, in one way or another, that there is a return of Christ. Because if there was a return of Christ, he would come back in the Aquarius age, in this golden age. Christ isn't returning. We know as spiritual beings, we know how much a lot of the Bible has been messed up and rewritten, and man wrote it. I'm not saying it's all wrong, because it's not, but a lot of it is myths within there, and it is a journey within the Bible. And there was a man called Jesus back then as well, who physically walked the earth, and he probably did perform miracles as well. But I'm not going down that path with this. So a lot of people think that he might be coming back, but what is actually happening, as we're finding out, is as we have this awakening, especially twin flames, those of you going through a Kundalini awakening and the twin flame, we're realizing that we're embodying Christ consciousness, that's coming in. We have a spark of God within all of us. We are an embodiment. God made us in his image. So that's what we're starting to realise. So Christ isn't going to come physically back and walk the earth, but he's being embodied in all of us. He's making us realise what unconditional love is, what compassion is, what peace is, how we don't want to live in that age that we've just come out of. We don't want to go through that anymore. We do want peace. We do want love. He's teaching us through our guides and angels, through other universes, other parts of the universe out there, how to live our lives in a better way, how to change ourselves. And as we move forward, more and more people will awaken and do the same thing. And it's going to be a slow, long change. But for a lot of us that are awakened, we're impatient. Of course we're impatient. We want everything to change now. We want all the governments to come down right this minute. We want no money. We want a completely new system. We want all sorts of things. We want all the new technologies out. We want disclosure on aliens. We want everything to come out right now. And it is starting to come out. But remember that we are at a start of a 2,160 year cycle. We're right at the start of it. We've got another 2,160 years to go through of evolution and revolution to change this world into the world the way it should be, the way we want it to be, where instead of destroying the earth, we're maintaining it and looking after it. So this is what's happening now. This is why we're having changes of feeling, changes of heart, thinking in a different way than we've ever thought before. And this is what it's leading on to. And we look at the past, and we look at things like the Egyptians and things like that. Egyptians had help from up above. If you look at their hieroglyphics and parts of their history, we know that they had some form of electricity or some form of light. There is no way they built them pyramids on their own. No matter how the historians try and explain it away, it's not adequate. The explanation isn't adequate. Nobody can lift a stone. Not even several hundred of them can lift a stone as heavy as one stone to put into a pyramid. And why did they build the pyramids? What was the reason for it? Whole other video on that one as well. So that's this is what's happening, and we have to look back in history, but that's the basic gist of why we're just moving into a new frequency, and we're all waking up from that, and this is what's happening. So this hero's journey that is a call to action. The hero's journey that I'm going to go through and segment down is a call to action, because there comes a point in your life where everything will fall apart. Everything will just go to complete pot. And that's the start of your awakening process, if you're going to go through it quickly. Where you get confused, where you don't want to be with your friends anymore, everything starts to change. And I say I'll go through that in detail another. I just want to do a major sort of overview of things. I mean, when I was going through the awakening and everything, and you're getting visions and you're getting things through that you've not seen before, and you're being shown things. I saw so many hieroglyphics. I kept being shown hieroglyphics, ancient symbols from the past, owls and foxes. I had owls on t-shirts, owls on the front of notebooks, owls on the telly, owls on the radio, owls, until I had owls coming out of my ears. I was sick of seeing them, but I didn't understand at the time why I was seeing them. But it was crazy. It was absolute, and it's the universe trying to tell you, trying to show you what's going on, and things are changing. Wake up. You now have the opportunity, or you are now getting the ability to be able to be in touch with us, to be able to talk to us. We can help you. You're now starting to hear us. We're now trying to teach you the language of how we communicate with you, because they don't say it. They bring it through in symbols and everything else, and synchronicities and dreams, all sorts of things. So we're literally learning a new language, and we're learning a new language so that we can talk with entities and angels and guides that we really never knew were there before. But the fact is, they've always been there. So, new language going on. Sorry, I had a coughing fit. I had to stop the video and start again. So, we've got all of this going on. And at the same time that you're awakening, you become very, very aware that there is another force out there that you never knew existed before. Now, there is a dark side and a light side. Now, when I was waking up, as an example, it's an awful example, but no, it's a very true example. Very, very suddenly, and I mean suddenly, one minute I was doing whatever I was doing, the next minute I was on complete turmoil. I suddenly felt like I had 1,000 eyes watching me, literally. And it was the strongest, weirdest feeling I've ever had, and it lasted ages. And everywhere I looked, and obviously I couldn't see anybody, I couldn't hear anybody, but it was suddenly like it was like being in a stadium filled with people that I couldn't see, but I knew they were there. There was something there, and I was like, oh my God, what is this? What is this feeling? Somebody's watching me. This is when I sort of started becoming aware of having my twin flame. And it was just the strongest feeling. And it's another force out there that you suddenly become aware of. And if you're confused, like I was at the time, obviously, and I know a lot of you, and if it happens that quickly, it's bloody scary. It's really scary, actually. It's really, really scary. You've seen the video on me at the beginning when I first started doing these videos, thinking that I was being spied on, that my car was bugged, my telephone was bugged, my computer was bugged. Bloody everything was bugged, because I just felt like I was constantly being listened to and watched. And what I was becoming in tune to was the fact that there is another energy out there, which is what you're becoming aware of, or will become aware of as time goes on. And sometimes it was very subtle, and other times it'd just be like a blast that hit me in the face, and I'd be a mess because I didn't know. The amount of times I nearly went to the police. How stupid is that? But at the time, that's how strong it was. That's how strong the feeling was. It was crazy. And I even took the inside of my door off on the car, I remember, once, because I swore that the car was bugged. But what I could feel was this new energy coming in, and it was scary. So we've got these energies going on. We've got the light and the dark. Now, the darkness is a force, and the easiest way to think of it is Star Wars, if we want to go down this route. We passed crazy a long time ago. A long time ago. Just to let you know that. So the darkness is a force and energy, just the same as the light is, and it controls certain factors within our 3D world. Okay, this world that we live in is an illusion, and once you start to awaken, you start to see that it is an illusion around you. So this dark force, this dark energy, because you can't have good without bad, you can't have light without dark, it's sort of the puppet master, and it controls the puppets on the earth, and the puppets on the earth that controls are things like the Cabal, the New World Order, the Illuminati, the Bilderbergs, certain 13 bloodlines, certain royal families, ISIS. What else does it? You know, certain military factions, the music industry, the film industry. Most of that is pretty saturated by this dark force, and they don't realise they're being influenced, or some of them do, but they're being influenced by this darker force. Now this darker force, as I say, knows that we've moved into a new age, and it has to go. It has to go away, and it has to calm down, and it has to stop stropping, but it's trying to hold on. This is why, as I say, we're seeing all of this come out now. Now we're into an age where there is truth. So we're seeing truths come out. We're seeing things that we never saw before. In America, you're seeing UFOs everywhere. I've seen it on YouTube. You're seeing loads of things that you've never seen before. We all are. We've suddenly got a dog sun. We've got two suns that are appearing in different parts over the world. We've got NASA coming out and telling us that they found new planets and this, that and the other. And new things are happening. Now these things have always been there. They've always been there. It's just that because we were controlled and suppressed and kept down and dumbed down, we never saw them before. So we've got all these people, you know, where's that list that I wrote down? Governments, pharmaceutical companies, the banking companies, they're all ruled and dominated by this darker force. So this darker force works through them in order to keep us down and suppress us. Homeland Security, the UN, all sorts of things, and they try to keep us down as much as they can, because they don't want to give up power. You know, they're the people at the top. They're the elite that have got most of the money, and we are the slaves underneath working for them. But we were quite happy to do that before. We never knew that that's what was going on. We pay our taxes and all the rest of it. But now the truth is starting to come out, and that's confusing us, because, oh my God, and we're getting angry, we're getting upset by it. But it's always been like that. We're just now starting to see the truth, and we're now starting to see the changes coming, because we're tuned into both radios. So this darkness controls all of that. And because the darkness controls all the major, and all these, you know, banking is a business, the pharmaceuticals are a business, hospitals are a business, the government is a business, the music industry, the film industry, they're all businesses, they're all self-serving industries. So they want to try and hold us down, and they've been doing that in a complete variety of ways. We've got chemtrails and fluoride in the water. We've got inadequate food. It's not organic. It's being sprayed with poisons. We've got all sorts of nasty things coming through. You know, the music and the film business. Every film that comes out, it's a disaster film. Or the aliens are going to land and they're going to kill us all. Or there's going to be a new world war. There's going to be floods everywhere, volcanoes, everything's going to blow up. Now, there are changes within our solar system going on. There are sun changes and solar changes, which are bringing in some of these truth energies for us. Where's my notes on that one? Do you know, I've got about 10 pages of notes going on here. So there are, we go through sun cycles. So as an example of them being self-serving and trying to, you know, to get more money out of us and more taxes, because we pay tax on absolutely everything. We go through solar activities and we go through what is called sun cycles, where the temperatures change, so we went through a phase of, you would have heard the government saying, oh, it's all global warming and it's all awful and everything, because the sun was going through a cycle and areas were getting hotter and the sun was warming up. So it was all our fault because we run cars and everything else, and we're contributing to this global warming, and we're going to have to pay tax on it and stop driving cars and this, that. It's nothing to do with us. It's not our fault. It's nothing. It doesn't even exist. It's because the sun goes through cycles. You don't actually hear global warming anymore. We're now onto climate change because the sun has gone through another cycle, and actually in some places it's actually cooled down a little bit. So we're not got global warming now. Now we've got climate change. And you'll hear the UN and everything talk about that. So they just want us to, it's just another way of keeping us down. It's just another way of them keeping the control over us without me getting too much into it. And you will see the darkness. Obviously, if they're dark and they're not good, then they are, you know, their God is something completely different to, or their creator is something completely different to our creator. Our creator is unconditional love and beautiful and wonderful and miraculous, and their creator is Lucifer, and it's self-serving completely. So they're doing at the moment whatever they can to keep us down. And because more of us are waking up, because we are becoming aware of this, and we're doing it on such a quick scale as well, it is starting to happen fast. It's like a domino effect. We're slowing it down. We're slowing down the things that they want to happen. When they put a film out or in songs or whatever, they're telling you what their agenda is. They're telling you what they want to happen in the future. That is what they're trying to manifest. Their third eyes are open. They know exactly what's going on. They know this Aquarius age has been coming in for a long, long time, for hundreds and hundreds of years. They've known this during the last age. So they've tried to keep it down. They don't want our third eyes open. They don't want us to know what they know. But we are becoming aware of that, and we do. So everything you see is their agenda and what they want to see happen. And they're very well aware as well of the fact that we have a collective consciousness. So if they have enough of us watching a disaster film, or, you know, Planet X is going to come in and wipe out the entire Earth, if there were enough of us thinking that and fearing that, we could actually manifest that, because it's part of the collective consciousness. So they're trying to steer us towards somewhere we don't want to go. But unfortunately, for most of the people out there, they don't realise that they're being steered in that direction, when we're actually going in another direction. And then we've got our guides and angels in and our awakening and going, no, we're actually in a new age now. This is not going to happen, what they're saying. This is really good. We need to steer you in this direction, and we also need you to help call to action, do your mission, help awaken other people around you. Now, that's not by bombarding them with this sort of information if they can't take it, or they don't understand it, or they think you're nuts. Because your vibration is rising, because you are getting lighter, you are gradually changing into a lighter body, a light body, not in weight unfortunately, but we're changing into a crystalline body. Your aura is getting bigger, your aura is growing around you, as well as you become more psychic, more awake, more aware, do more meditation, that sort of thing. The light always puts out the dark. So as you're spiritually growing, you're having an influence on people around you just by being near them, just by being there. The stronger vibration always wins out, and everything has a vibration. And as the vibrations from the universe come into us and give us this help to continually awaken us, we get stronger and stronger. So we're changing, and our attitudes are changing as well. We are not the doormat that we used to be. We are service to others, but we are not service to others in a doormat way. We do it because we are pleased and we are happy and we want to help others. We're not being a slave to anybody else. Excuse me. We're also, because we're awakening, once we get past the fear, once we realise that this is not the end of times, this is not everything's going to go to pot and everything, even though it looks like it is, because that's what they want to do, is fill you with fear. You not only you're not a doormat anymore. You become strong. You become able to stand in your own truth. You become a goddess or a god. You become able to stand up for yourself, stand up for your truth, not be afraid of what you say, not be afraid of what other people say about you. We have been under the control of male energy. As I mentioned in another video, it's been a very dominating male dark energy, and we are now starting to embody a much more female energy, a much more feminine energy, which brings about peace. And this is, if you're male or female, it doesn't matter, because as you know, with twin flames, we are trying to embody the male and the female and balance that within us, the light and the dark. This is what we're trying to do as we go through our awakening. So it's really, hopefully you're getting the gist of all this, and I'm not just talking to myself. So if we move on from there and going back into, let me talk about our auras and the way our auras and what that means and what's happening. So we are changing the cycles of history now as we awaken, and a lot of you are forerunners in that. And a lot of you, as I say, who've been awake already for years, you're like, oh, come on, get on with it. It's starting to happen. It's starting to happen now. And I'm glad I didn't wake up years ago, because I don't have a lot of patience. It's been one of the hardest things I have had to learn. And I've had messages coming through. A few weeks ago, I thought the economic collapse was about to happen, and I got on to my twin and said, quick, get to the bank, get all your money out the bank, because I thought it was about to happen. Because sometimes when the messages come through to you, you're like, oh my God, and it panics you, or it's panicked me in the past, until you realise that just because a message comes through to you, or just because you're hearing something, you're picking it up from the collective consciousness, it doesn't mean it's going to happen this second though. And that's something else that you have to learn to get along with. So basically, the reason we're getting rid of the convention of things, the dogma, the stigma, all the propaganda, all of that is starting to move as we come into our own. And we can influence the world around us, and we can influence the people around us as well. I've mentioned in, oh God, a video a long time ago, study was done on people meditating and everything, and meditating on the same subject to influence the collective consciousness. And I think they did it in a certain area to reduce crime and burglaries and things like that. And at the end of the study, after they'd done it, there was a 72% reduction in crime and burglaries and murder and everything when they did that meditation, immediately after they did that meditation. And it wasn't down to anything else. It wasn't down because there was extra police on the streets or anything like that. There was nothing else that could explain this 72% reduction apart from this mass meditation that took place, that they studied, where they all concentrated and put out up into the collective consciousness in their immediate area to bring peace. So it can be done, and it is being done, and that is why we're here, and that's why we're dotted about all over the world as well. So we're breaking down this dogma and this propaganda and all of that sort of thing in order to move forward. And I've completely lost my thread now. To bring this cycle into a better conclusion, which is going to happen, whether, you know, it's going to happen anyway, and it's going to be positive, but we'd like it in our lifetime. We'd like to see it happen before we go. This time we want to know that we've made a difference, and this is why more and more of us are waking up. So this is a collective effort to just start, right, the truth is now coming out, let's get on with it, let's move this along, let's hurry it up, and you'll find that as you're awakening, you will want to work in more holistic jobs, you'll want to start your own business doing something, you'll be wanting to do a job that helps others in a more holistic way, you'll be wanting to invent things that are more economically friendly, more universally friendly, and go green and things like that as you go forward. So I've mentioned about the auric field and how it expands as we spiritually grow. And from what I've learned, it can actually expand to around up to 18 miles around us, which means you have an immediate influence. Your vibration has an immediate influence on people around you, and you may not see it. The stronger you get, the more it will happen. I've seen in my vicinity neighbours and that seem to be changing. They're getting nicer. They're getting nicer. They're getting more loving. I've got, you know, a friend down the road, and he's starting to get. He doesn't realise he's awakening, but I can tell by the way he talks and that about how he's trying to give up drink, and he's trying to give up his wacky backy and his marijuana or whatever it is he smokes, and he's trying to be more loving towards other people. And you know, I've got a neighbour next door who used to be a complete nightmare, who's starting to, she's getting better slowly. She's getting nicer as time goes on. She still borrows everything off me, but so we can affect people, and apparently we can affect people for up to 18 miles. If anyone's got any information on that, let me know. But this is what I've heard or learned, and this is as we do more meditation, as we get more spiritually growth within us, this happens. So you're affecting your family, your friends, your neighbours, putting it all out into the collective consciousness. And this is the more that you spiritually grow. So the more you spiritually grow, the more your auric fields will expand around you and start to affect your environment around you. This is why you will get to a point in your spiritual awakening where you actually, for the time being, have to move away from people who are, you know, who are not serving you, who are not being very nice, who are being horrible, who are trying to keep you down and suppress you because they don't like the changes that they're seeing within you. You need to stay away from those people. You need to have a really, you don't have to, I mean, this call to action, this awakening, this hero's journey, you don't have to take it. You can turn away from it and say, no, I'm going to stay in the bottom of the vodka bottle. I'm not going to change. I like things the way they are, and eventually you won't be on the spiritual journey anymore. You will slip back into your old ways again. But if you want to stay on this path, I think once you've got so far on this path, there isn't really any going back to sleep. You're pretty much you're done on that one. That's your old life, and now you're on your new life. But for the time being, there are going to be jobs and people and situations that you need to stay away from, because you become so sensitive to them. You can't cope with them anymore, and they don't understand where you're coming from. So the best thing to do is just move away. You don't want to be influenced by anyone else. Also, as your vibration's growing, and you're getting in touch with the collective consciousness and becoming very aware of that and what's going on, that we're all one, that we're all infinite consciousness, that there is no duality within the world. You'll find people and friends around you, your thoughts will start to synchronize together, like you're awakening them. You'll start to have the same thoughts. Your body will also start to synchronize with them. It's a proven fact that several women in the same household will get their period at the same time every month together. Their bodies, their periods will synchronize together. And if you are very in touch, you will also find that your periods come every 28 days around the time of the new moon as well, because the planets are influencing you, and because we're mostly made up of water. So you will notice that as well, especially in women, and that. So if you've got the higher vibration, then everybody else's thoughts and actions will start to gravitate towards you. So as long as you're happy and peaceful and on the spiritual route properly, they will start to very slowly to gravitate towards you. Your light will always win out over the darkness. Your positivity will always win out. Your spiritualism will always win out eventually over people. And if somebody's really asleep, stay the hell away from them as much as you can. So your thoughts will be dominant over other thoughts that other people have. And eventually people will come round to your way of thinking as well. So at some point you will rise above the collective consciousness, and be able to start influencing. So instead of going along with whatever the collective consciousness is doing, because they've all been watching the latest disaster movie, or they've been listening to politics or whatever, you will rise above that, and you will not be influenced by the collective consciousness so much. You will get higher than that. So the news, the media, the films, the music industry, you won't be influenced, you won't be interested in it anymore. So when everyone's gossiping and going on about the latest news headline, you won't be involved in that. You won't be interested in that. You will have raised yourself, your consciousness above that, and you will be able to see that, you know, how many people read a news headline and then they all start talking. It's all in their collective consciousness. And if they keep doing it, they're going to start then manifesting the stuff that the darkness wants them to manifest. To the darker agenda, and this is what they want to create, and this is what they want to do. This is why we don't get involved in that sort of thing. If you want to keep, you know, we're co-creators. If you want to keep watching horror films and nasty stuff and things like that, you're going to eventually bring it into your own reality and create it in your own reality. This is also why a lot of you on your awakening journey, you have thoughts of getting out of highly populated areas. You don't want to stay in the city anymore. You want to get out. You want to get out to rural places, or by the coast, or into the countryside. You want to become more organic in the way you're living, in the way you're thinking, in the way you're eating as well, because you're realizing that everything is energy. You're also becoming aware of that force that I spoke of before, and this force is deliberately done as well. It's in the Wi-Fi within your computers, the phones. Everybody, you go out on the street and everybody's got their face stuck in a mobile phone, playing a game or texting or something. There's no communication there. They're designed like that. They're designed to keep people dumbed down and stop being aware of what's going on around them, and they're doing a really good job on that in some people, where they're just stuck in it all the time. So this is the other force coming in that you're aware of. So you're like, no, I don't want to live in the city anymore, I don't want to do this job. You become aware of this darker force when you're out shopping, from people around you in the supermarket, and it's just like, I can't cope with it. That you become so sensitive to things like that, you do just want to move away. And this force is, I don't know if I said it before, it's like, it's a hive mind. It's like the queen bee in a hive, and all of these worker bees are working solely and serving the queen, and she's self-serving. And this is what the darker force is trying to steer the collective mind to at the moment, and has been doing for an awful long time. But now we've got all these little pockets of truth coming out, and you're going, ooh, what's that? Where did that come from? It's always been there. We've just never been allowed to see it. And we've got some parts of the government, some parts of the military, people on our side sort of thing, who are realising that, do you know what, the truth's going to come out, whatever. One way or the other, it's going to come out. So, you know, they're going to start changing. They are going to start changing. And these people as well, we have to give them forgiveness, and we have to give them love as well. Because they know not what they do. So if you're wanting to move away, if you're wanting to get into the country, it's because you're just wanting to connect more with the universe, connect more with Mother Earth, because that's what's making you feel peaceful. That's what's bringing you the most joy. You're getting out of alignment with the artificial grid that has been put around the earth, which keeps the darkness in, which tries to get us to do their agenda. Right, before I finish, because I know I've been talking for ages, I just want to touch on what I mentioned right at the beginning about time being a loop, cylindrical, things repeating themselves, and karma. I just want to touch a little bit on karma as well before I wrap it up, and hopefully that's given you a brief overview, a very brief overview, because once you get into the subject, it is just enormously vast, and you never stop learning. As long as it makes you a better, stronger, more peaceful person without judgment, then this is what it's teaching you. So I did mention cylindrical time. It's not linear at all. This is why, as we're waking up, we can see differences in time. We can get time loops and things like that. I'll go into that in another video. And we also become aware of who we were in past lives, or we start going for past life regressions, or we start having dreams about who we were in a past life, and that also repeats as well. This is why we are brought back time and time again. Now, this is something else that the darkness knows. This is almost part of the prison planet that we live in that we have a life, and we live that life however we live it, and we die, and we supposedly go to heaven. If you've been really good in that life, then you probably will go to heaven. But because we've got this grid above us, we have a problem. We keep being recycled and brought down again for yet another life. We die, we get up there, the darkness is up there, It's the false light. We get to the false light, and they turn around and say, sorry mate, you've got to go back down again for another life, another round of lifetime, to get right, which you didn't get right in the last life. And this is karma. And you go, oh, okay then. What you actually come to learn is that this is a deliberate thing. We're having souls recycled and brought back down again. This is why you will see, I don't know, actors or characters from the past reappear further on in time in another life, and you'll go, oh, that person looks just like or acts just like whoever. It's a reincarnated soul again. What you do come to learn eventually, once you're awakened in this lifetime, is about this barrier that we hit when we get up there, and the fact that if we just are awake enough to remember that we just want to go back to source when we die, we want to go back to our creator, we want to go back to source, we're not going to the light, then we won't, and we won't come down. It's a choice, if we can say it like that, and that's probably something I'll have to get into as well. But you can choose to go back to source, and when you're awakened you realise that you can choose to go back to source, which is why I say, especially for twin flames, once we've come through this lifetime, this is our last lifetime, we're not coming down again, because we've awakened to a point where we know exactly what's going on in the universe. So we become aware of past lives, and we become aware of what karma is. So whoever you were in a past life will influence how you are in this life, and karma has to be paid back at some point. So it'll come back in different aspects as well. So let's do it in extremes to explain it. If you were a murderer in a past life, who realised how wrong it was to murder in that life, who wanted to repent and this, that and the other. I'm not being biblical or anything like that. I'm still being spiritual. This is related to karma. This is not related to religion or different religious beliefs or anything like that. If you're a murderer in a past life, but you realised how bad it was to be a murderer while you were still alive and doing that, then you can right the wrongs within that lifetime and sort it out within that lifetime, and it's not something that you have to repeat in the next lifetime when you come down. So in the next lifetime, maybe he'll come back, the murderer, he'd come back as a policeman or military or something good, a doctor, to try and help people, a nurse in the next lifetime, to try and help people, because he was murdering in the last time. But because he realised it then, he'll come back as something better. If he didn't figure it out within that lifetime, then in this lifetime when he comes back, he could be murdered himself. He could have a really horrible, nasty life because he didn't figure it out in the last lifetime. And this is karma. If you were a slave, if you were a drug addict, if you were an alcoholic, whatever story you had in the last lifetimes, if you don't learn the lesson in that lifetime, you have to repeat it in the next life. You have to come round and do it again and learn that whatever you did to somebody else in the last lifetime, you do it in this lifetime. The fact that we're actually awakening now, though, we're actually becoming aware of all the bad stuff that we've done and repaying our karma within this lifetime, within all in one go. We're not having to, we're having a rebirth while we're still alive. We're not dying and being reborn to do it all again. We're doing it all in this lifetime as we come through it. So the lessons repeat, and you get stuck into a cycle, a loop, a cylindrical cycle of time, because time is not linear in the way that we always thought it was. And karma it's not a punishment, it's not judging you, it's nothing like that. It's meant to restore you, it's meant to bring you back to balance when you figure out what it is. You can have bad karma happen to you, but you can stop, you can repay that karma. That's when you go through the awakening and all that crap happens to you at the beginning. of your awakening, if you're awakening quickly, when you start going through all the crisis modes and moving away from people and losing your job and losing your twin and everything else, that's your awakening. That's the start of the hero's journey as well. This is crisis point. And you start to learn to have to repay the karma that you need to within this lifetime. You can stop the karma though. There comes a point where the karma can actually stop, and you don't have to keep doing this, because you come to a point whereas you are nurturing yourself, you are loving yourself, you're respecting yourself, you're honouring yourself, and you're doing that the same for other people around you. You've got unconditional love and everything else. You might never have done anything bad, or you don't think you've done anything bad to anybody else in this lifetime, but you can have bad karma by not nurturing yourself, by not looking after yourself, by not respecting yourself, by being a doormat to other people. You can get bad karma just by doing that, because you're not loving yourself for who you really are, by not accepting yourself. So it goes both ways on that one. So this is learning to stand in your truth, not to be scared of anything, not to fear the changes that are coming around for you. And it'll come out in a variety of ways. Somebody else could come in to show you, or situations can come in to show you the karma. Once you learn to live, we've got 12 or 13 universal laws, depending on who you listen to or who you watch. Once we learn these universal laws, once we learn to live by these universal laws, then karma stops, and we can lead a pretty peaceful life, and we can ascend, and we can change timelines to the people that are not awakened yet. And again, I've been going on so long, I can't get into all that in this. My throat's starting to hurt now. Once we realise how this matrix works, how this illusion works, how this 3D world works, then we get rid of the karma. Then we start to teach it to others, or we start to help others awaken in whichever way that is. Once you figure out that you've been programmed for most of your life, and you get rid of the programs, and you clear the programs from school, from government, from what you watch, from the collective consciousness that they're trying to steer you in a certain direction. The fact that war is just a business, and it always has been. Killing people is just a business to the dark side. So once we've learned all that, we can go straight back to source. When we can go back to God Creator, however you want to call him, and not into the false light. So I just wanted to touch on that at the end of this, because I've been going on for so long, but I just wanted to give you an overall view of what's happening out there, what's happening with us, what's happening within us. So for everything that you start to learn, start to pick up on, use your own discernment, because obviously there's there are still a lot of conspiracy theories out there and things like that. But look at things. There is a lot of truth coming out now, which we want to come out, which will change the world. And you are unique, you're special, you're amazing, and you're such a big part of that. And if you're still in the phase of, well, just go where your guides and angels lead you to learn and research. Part of your spiritual growth is to learn and research. Go where your guides and angels lead you to. If you're still just watching the monthly stars every month or something like that, try and start to expand a little bit. But I think you'll probably be guided on that. I mean, I had to learn aspects of quantum physics. I was looking at biochemistry a couple of nights ago, which really and it didn't all go over my head. I was actually getting some of it. So stuff that I never learnt in school, stuff that was never there before, stuff that they don't want you to know. I was learning about salts and minerals that we need within our bodies, depending on what star sign we are. So that's something actually I might go into with you as well. So there's all this, just so much, but as we awaken, we come to understand there are different civilizations out there in the universe. There are good ones, there are bad ones. We do have support and help as we go through this. We are star crystals, twin flames, star seeds, indigos, walk-ins. There's all sorts. There's just so vast that everything that's going on. But we become aware that we are not just this human vessel here, this mass of sinew and tissue and skin and everything else. There is so much more there, and that's what you're learning as you go along. So I hope this helped, and I hope you enjoyed it. I'm going to go and get a cuppa now. Stop my throat hurting. Questions, bung them below. And as I said at the beginning, you know, some of you probably may already know this, so that's fine. But again, I'm going on different levels of who my subscribers are, and hopefully there's a few bits of information in there which you didn't have before or you didn't understand before, which have made sense to you as well. And I want to give a shout out to one of my subscribers, and she'll know exactly who I'm talking about when I mention this. I mentioned before about people gravitating towards us and our aura, our vibration being higher than other people's, and they will synchronize to us. She has a problem with a neighbour who, every time she puts on the washing machine, her neighbour will put on the washing machine. Every time she puts out the washing, her neighbour will put out the washing. Every time she does anything, the neighbour will do it as well, and it's driving her nuts. Which should drive anybody nuts. It's because her aura, her vibration is getting so high. Her consciousness is affecting that neighbour, and they're doing things at the same time. They're synchronizing. She's synchronizing with the neighbour is synchronizing with her because she's got the stronger vibration. And I don't know if any others of you out there have ever noticed that. But I just thought I'd throw that in because that'll really help her. So take care, namaste, I'll speak to you soon. Bye.